In this video, we're going to talk about two different concepts. One is how to do basic math in Python. The other is how to use the Python console to test out different Python ideas without having to write a whole program. So to access the Python console, you can do this in PyCharm. So if you open up PyCharm, you can open up a project you've already created, or you can just create a new project. It doesn't matter because we're not doing anything with the project itself. We just need to get to this window within Python. Up at the very top, there is a Tools menu. When you click on the Tools menu, you should scroll down until you see Python Console. This is the one that you will want to click on. This will open up a Python console down at the bottom of your window. So if you don't care about the actual files, you can actually pull this up so that it takes up more space on the bottom. So you will see what version of Python you are running. It should be some version of Python 3. If it is not some version of Python 3, you need to go and edit your settings for this project to make sure you're using the correct project interpreter. Alright, so what is the Python console? So the Python console is a place where we can type in Python commands and see their result without necessarily having to store it in variables to user input. You cannot save what you write in the Python console into some file. So you don't want to write your program, for instance, for a programming assignment into the Python console. You just want to use this for testing out if something actually works the way you think it does. So for instance, I want to have a variable called my age, and I want to store in it 22. So I can type in my age equals 22, and then I can print the value of my variable my age to see if it's stored correctly. And I see that it is in fact 22. So it does work that I can take some variable name equals some number, and it will store in that variable correctly, because when I print it out, it's there. Whereas if I try it the other way, 22 equals my age, I get an error because you can't do things that way. So whenever you're declaring that a variable is some particular value, it has to be variable equals value. The other way around does not work. Alright, so let's get into math. So the basic mathematical operators are exactly as you would expect. So I can type in some Python command, so in this case 3 plus 4, and I can see the result, which is 7. So that is in fact addition. 3 times 4 is an asterisk, 12. 3 divided by 4, 0.75. Notice that the division is this forward slash. This is the slashes down in the bottom right-hand side of your keyboard, not the upper right-hand side. If you try to use the other slash, it will not work correctly. We can also do 3 minus 4. And we see that that also works. We get -1. So these are all of our basic arithmetic operators, pretty straightforward. Python also gives us some others that you may be less familiar with. So one is to do power, so 3 to the power of 4. To do this in Python, we write 2 asterisks, 3 star star 4. So this is 3 to the power of 4. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And we see that that answer is in fact 81. Another special case that we have is the modulus sign. So we can do 3 mod 4. What modulus is giving us is the remainder after doing division. So if we did 3 divided by 4, what would be left over? Well, it would be 3 because 4 doesn't go into 3. So 4 goes into 3 0 times, and there's 3 left over. So I could also do, say, 10 mod 3. So 3 goes into 10 3 times. But what mod is telling us is the remainder. So how much is left over after 3 goes into 10? Well, there's 1 left over because 3 times 3 is 9, and there's 1 more left. So we get that 1. Okay, so this gives us a way to get the remainder as a whole number, as we're doing an integer mod an integer. Related to this, we can also do what's called integer division. So before, when we did 3 divided by 4, we got 0.75 because Python's smart enough to say, oh, that is some real number. Now, if we wanted to force it to see how many exact times 4 goes into 3 and ignore the remainder, we can do 2 slashes. So that gives us 0. 4 goes into 3 0 times. Okay, so we can do 3 slash slash 4 to see 0 times, and then 3 mod 4 to see what the remainder was, which was 3. So the slash slash and the mod give us a way to find out exactly how many times some number goes in, ignoring the remainder, and then separately we can get the remainder. So you will actually find these very useful in many of your programs throughout the semester. So here everything we've been doing is just playing within the console, but if we want to actually use the results of this in a program, we have to store it or output it in some way. So generally what we're going to be doing is we're going to be storing the result of math inside some variable. So for instance, perhaps I know that you are 2 years older than me. I could say your age should be set to my age, which we've already set, plus some number. So 2 years older than me. So then if I print your age, I should say that's 24. And remember when we printed my age, we saw it was 22. So we are storing inside your age the result of the math on the other side of the equal sign. The equal sign is always an assignment operator. Whatever is on the right side, the result of that is stored into the thing on the left. So in this case, the way this math is working in Python is my age is being replaced with the value that it represents, which is 22. And then the math is done between 22 plus 2, so we get our 24. We can make our math as complicated as we want to make it, but we do need to think about our order of operations. So for instance, if I wanted to do 3 times 4 plus 2, I would get a very different answer if I had 3 times 4 plus 2 with 4 plus 2 in parentheses. Okay, so our order of operations is the same as what we're used to in general math class, more or less. So for instance, multiplication and division happen before addition and subtraction, and parentheses can control what happens first. So this should give you a good idea of all of the basics of how to do arithmetic within Python, and also this very handy tool of this Python console where we can just test out our ideas without having to write an entire program in Python. And again, you get to this Python console in PyCharm by going to Tools and then choosing Python console. And you can do this within any project, it doesn't matter.